You know, you've been involved in so many historical calls in NASCAR, whether it be the Craven Busch Darlington finish, the 2001 Daytona 500, Kevin Harvick stealing a Daytona 500 from Mark Martin. And I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but is there one that sticks out in your mind as sort of the call, or the one that sort of is the most memorable for you?
Not so much in my mind, but the one that people bring up all the time is Dale Earnhardt's 500 win and in '98 on CBS. And the reason that became so special was twofold, and it all happened behind the scenes. Patrick Perrin, our researcher, who works with us now on Fox in the same capacity, and Greg Fielden, who was our historian, were asked to go back and look at things like, of the 200 laps of the Daytona 500, how many of those numbered laps had Dale Earnhardt led? Not counting lap 200, which he'd never led to that point. It turned out there were only 3 laps of the race he'd never led. So we knew that. We had that for the telecast. All right, now show us, how many times has Dale been in a position to win with 30 to go, with 20 to go, with 10 to go, with 5 to go, and with 1 to go? So as that race unfolded, and we knew he'd be a factor, and there were lots of other storylines we were chasing, but we were able to give the viewer such a clear picture of how close Dale had come so many times and just not gotten there. And then he wins the race, and the next great thing that happens, usually we'd go right to commercial. Checkered flag, bunch of cars come across the line, let's go to break. Jim Cornell was our associate producer, and he goes, don't go to break, something's happening here. And we look out, and that's when everybody came out to pit road from all the pits. And it was such a moment, and per the format, it would have been lost to a commercial break, and we would have had to replay it. But this all unfolded live, and when it was over, everybody had a sense of how important it was to the sport for Dale Earnhardt to finally win that race. So it wasn't my call, but it was the preparation work of everybody to bring that moment together so the audience fully appreciated just how huge it was.
Well, and we were sort of hoping for a similar moment in 2007 with Mark Martin, but Kevin Harvick deprived us all. I mean,
that's his job.
He wouldn't see it that way,
no,
right?
That's his job.
You mentioned Barrett-Jackson. You anchor those Barrett-Jackson auctions. Are you also a classic car collector?
Yeah, I'm Bob Varsh is our anchor, and we've had a variety of different analysts through the years. And Alan DeCadenet started up on the block as the hands-on analyst. And Alan is a thorough expert on European cars and not so much on muscle cars. So they brought me in to work with Alan. And then he went to other pursuits, and Steve Mignante came up on the block with me. And Steve is just a fountain of knowledge of date codes and casting numbers and production figures and things like that. He does a tremendous amount of research, and he's the best guy in the world to go through the pick-apart with. Hey, you better save one of those because they only made 1,300 of those, and people are looking for those, and there aren't many of them, so let's pull that. You know, so he's great at that. So between his knowledge of the parts and the pieces, you know, this Hemi, if this car had a Hemi when it was new, it should have these reinforcing braces here, that kind of thing. And with my knowledge of what these cars were like back in the day, when they were new or when they were 4 or 5 years old, when my friends owned them and we all worked on each other's cars, it's a real good mix, and it's a lot of fun. It's fun to share our knowledge, and it's fun to learn from the people that bring these cars and the people who own them and know the most about them, you know, what they're all about, and to share that.
So your love of cars came before your chosen profession. It was,
oh gosh, yeah. So my dad loved cars. He didn't have a big collection of cars, you know, but he had a couple that were fun and interesting, and I got to enjoy cars largely through him. And then when I turned 16 and it was time to get my driver's license, as it had been for a couple generations before me, there were only 2 things of interest, you know, to a high schooler, and that's cars and girls.
And cars, they go great together.
Cars were a lot easier to understand, and still are. But if you want to attract the girls, having a sharp car was a good way to do it.
There you go.
And off and running.
All right, now when the NASCAR races leave Fox, you don't go on vacation. So what do you do? What are you up to now? What are you doing now that you're not calling races?
We just finished a Barrett-Jackson out at Orange County a week and a half ago, and flew right back from that, and then right over to the Speedway at Charlotte for summer shootout, where my son Scott races his Bandolero. He was really good on the road course this weekend, this winter, with a win in 2 seconds. And his oval track program's coming along. Last night, he qualified third, about 3/100ths of a second off the pole sitter. And we didn't have such good luck in the race. He got dumped during the race and broke the left front. But he's ready to go again tonight. And summer shootout's where we're at.
Excellent. All right.
Sure.
Mike Joy, not only a broadcaster, but a proud father.
You bet.
Thanks for taking the time to jump by the Rowdy studio. NASCAR and Fox Speed, Mike Joy.
Thanks.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.